All right, Lieutenant Steve Chesshir, Engine 15 on 3 unit. Just want to share with you something we put together just to try to help out officers. Chief Moore's office is working to rotate apprentices more, which means as officers we're going to have more newer people in our fire stations. Most of the time, and this is kind of a bit of an old school thing, but as you had a new person come into your station as the officer, you'd sit down with them and you'd go over a few things, how the station runs, normal duties for the day, where things are around the station, your expectations either on an engine, ladder, medic, whatever that would be. A lot of stations we found had booklets already created for maybe the new person's first 10 duty days at the station, something like that. So I helped out recently with the last charm school, the officer school. Had a lot of those officers asking me about things they would sit down and talk to the new people with. Or about when they would get to the station and how they kind of handled that. And then also some of the apprentices had talked to Lieutenant JATC about some different things about where they were confused on some things around the station and stuff like that. So we just sat down and thought, well, let's come up with a sheet to maybe streamline that a little bit to help the officer when they sit down with a new person to make sure they're hitting all the things that they need to hit. One, it'll help the officer out and make sure you kind of stay on point of the stuff you want to go over, and two, it'll help the apprentice firefighter know that they have all the things that they need to know moving forward, whether they're at your station or their next rotation, whichever that is. So myself, Captain Heigel, Chief Moore, Captain Denless, Lieutenant JATC, we sat down and just basically created an easy checklist just to try to make it easy for the officers to be able to sit down and have that meeting. Kind of the way we created this too, we went around and collected a lot of those orientation books that a lot of stations already had made up. I know Captain Riley had a pretty good one, 32s. We took, Jim Lewis had a really good one from 16s that he used before he retired. So we just gathered a lot of that information and kind of just put it into this sheet just to try to help you out as far as an officer and being able to sit down with a new person. So, and I'm not going to go through this whole checklist with you. It's pretty self-explanatory when you print it out, but it's going to cover things like, again, making sure what you expect as the officer from the apprentice firefighter, if they're on the engine, if they're on the medic, or if they're on the ladder that day. What you expect for them when you go on a run, or if they're checking the truck in the morning, things like that, where the equipment is, all those kind of things that most officers are probably already doing, to be honest with you. Again, we're just trying to streamline it with a checklist and make sure we're covering all those bases. The other thing we put in here was going over things like how to COD. We found a few apprentices really were kind of hazy on how to do that. The other big one was how they're putting in for Kelly Day, or how you would put in for, say, next day or monthly vacation. Excuse me, a lot of them were a little hazy on how we're doing that. And then putting in for a trade. Trade was a big one as far as making sure they put something in the notes. A lot of, I won't say a lot, but quite a few of the newer firefighters didn't really understand how to do that as far as putting in a trade. So that's on this sheet to just kind of go over that with them. Some of the other thing is some day force stuff. We found out, surprisingly, a lot of them didn't understand how day force worked and what you needed to do as far as if you want to make changes on day force. The big one is if they had a baby. If they had a baby, a new member of their family, they got married, things like that, they didn't really understand how that worked as far as with day force. So on here we put just sit down, log in with them on day force, and just go through their pay stub with them and tell, you know, hey, that's what this box is, this is your holiday hours, this is how many vacation hours, sick hours you have, things like that. So again, just sitting down, stuff we probably every day just take for granted and don't really think that much about. We were just kind of missing, and some of these were things that I had missed sitting down with some of the newer people that came into 15s that I just overlooked because, again, just kind of taking it for granted. Doing your reports and things, make sure they understand how ESO works, their vector solutions, how they log on vector solutions. Most of them leave the training academy kind of knowing that one, but just sit down and make sure, hey, for sure we know or they know how vector solutions works. But beyond that, again, I'm not going to go through all these. You can read the checklist, and there's places that they're going to sign and you're going to sign or initial, just to make sure we're hitting all that. So it's just going to cover you as far as the officer. Hey, I went over that with this person, and it's going to cover the apprentice. Hey, yeah, the officer did sit down and go through this with me. So just some kind of checks and balances. But again, the overall goal was just, as the officer, since now these rotations are going to be coming more, it just streamlined that kind of discussion that you're probably already having with a lot of your new people. So Captain Heigel is going to go over exactly how the assignment will work, because you will get this as a vector solution assignment.
Yeah, and so just to piggyback off what Lieutenant Chesshir said, a lot of this is going to be in conjunction with JATC and ES, and then this is kind of where in-service training kind of gets involved as well. Here is the actual assignment and the tracking of the data. What's going to happen is when the apprentice rotate, you're going to get a vector solution assignment that self-populates on your home screen. It's not going to have the apprentice's name in it. It's just going to have their associated class. So for instance, if you get a member of the class coming out of the newest recruit class, you're going to get an assignment that says apprentice rotation orientation checkoff packet class 119 or 118 or 117. However many apprentice you get is how many assignments you would get. So if you get 2 from 119 and 1 from 118 and you have 3 apprentices, you as that company officer are going to have 3 assignments that pop up on your vector solution. When it pops up on your vector solution, there's going to be a brief description explaining kind of the process, the procedures. What you're going to see is some self-explanatory fill-in information, name, ID number, what rotation number that the apprentice is on, and then you're going to see a section on there that says file to upload. And at the completion of this packet, and I'll talk about it in here in just a second, you'll take the packet, you'll scan it, you'll upload it, and then you'll hit submit, and it'll go off into cyberspace, and it'll allow us to track that data as far as when the assignments come in and then which ones are post due. As far as how this looks, so they're going to get a packet for each of their 3 rotations. And I know, and we went around the table a lot with this as far as, do they need a packet every time they rotate? It's not necessarily saying that the previous officer didn't go over the stuff on the sheet. It's just that different firehouses have different ways of doing things, and different fire trucks and different apparatus, and they have things on here as far as where to put your gear, what bed is yours, just trying to make them feel comfortable in the firehouses. So every time they rotate for their first 3, so anytime that ES is controlling their rotation, they're going to get one of these packets. As they go, if you get an apprentice on their 3rd rotation, this will be the 3rd time they've seen this packet, and in theory it should be relatively low key. A lot of it should be review, just some fine-tuning things of what's unique to that specific firehouse. Like Lieutenant Cheshire said, you'll go through, you'll fill out the self-explanatory boxes here. A lot of this stuff is just apprentice initial, officer's initials, and a date. The very top box on here is the apprentice name, an ID, and the officer name and ID. There's a final verification box on here as far as, yep, I attest that I completed this packet in its entirety. The apprentice will do it, the officer will do it, and then before it gets uploaded, there's a standalone box there for the battalion chief. It can be, it should preferably be your assigned battalion chief, but it can also just be the battalion chief on duty for the day. And essentially what that is verification that the sheet's filled out in its entirety before you upload it to Vector Solutions. From there, you'll go ahead, if you have it stapled, take the staple out, run it through the scanner, you'll go ahead, save it to your computer, and then attach it as a file to this assignment and hit submit. For the assignment duration, it's only going to be on there, the due date is going to float around 3 weeks. So for instance, if this class graduates on Friday, their first shifts will be Saturday, Sunday, Monday. It'll come out, it'll populate on your home screen, and we'll give you like 3 weeks plus a day or 2 to make sure you get a full 3 weeks to complete the assignment, and then you upload it. Truly, it should be a shift or 2, and it should be able to be uploaded and then taken off your plate. And then the more you do this and the more people rotate through, it should become relatively low key. At the end of it, ES will make sure everybody turns their stuff in on time. We understand there's probably going to be some questions on some of the boxes. If you have any questions whatsoever, You can always go through your chain of command. You can ask your battalion chief. Another resource that we sometimes forget about is your unit apprentice training coordinators on 1, 2, and 3 unit. You can reach out to them. They can help you with scanning the document. They can help you kind of bridge that gap between the JATC office and as far as what needs to happen here to complete the assignment. And then from there, that's really it. It should be a relatively low-key project, truly just trying to make sure that the apprentice get their roles and responsibilities clearly laid out to them, and they're welcomed into each firehouse and as they go, just to make sure everybody's kind of on the same page.
And just real quick, as you look at this and you're going through it, if you see a box that maybe we didn't put on here, that's something that maybe you as an officer do with someone that comes into your fire station all the time, definitely hit myself, Ethan, Corey with that. Just we can add things to this. It's not locked in stone by any means. Again, we just wanted to be there to help you out. We did add that battalion chief signature part in there too, just because we felt like talking to a couple of the chiefs that they wanted to have some input on how putting some of their expectations in there too, of having a new firefighter in their battalion. So it only made sense to add the battalion chief. We'll talk to them as well, and then they can sign off on the sheet. So again, this is really, we're calling it an assignment, but it's really more of just like a help for the officer and the apprentice than really anything else. But again, if there's something we missed or something you think we should add, definitely hit me with it or hit us with it, and we'll adjust as we go. So, good stuff.